Hello guys, I'm Tom, and today we'll delve into everyone's nightmares in Gravity Falls. With the release of Bill's new book, we were introduced to some very interesting concepts regarding the future of the Gravity Falls universe. For instance, we learned about the existence of many alternate variants of Dipper and Mabel Pines, who lost in their respective realities and are now desperately trying to replace the Pines twins from the main timeline. According to Bill Cipher, they are the only ones who won. We were also introduced to the concept of the Terra Prism, where Bill Cipher is trapped along with other powerful interdimensional villains, such as the Core from Amphibia and Cthulhu. This is the place where the cosmic axolotl imprisoned him after the events of the series. However, Bill is plotting a way to return and resurrect himself. A rather dark and intriguing aspect that gives us more context about the animated series and its characters is the fact that Dipper and Mabel Pine's parents were going to divorce, which is why they were sent to Gravity Falls. We know this because when Bill Cipher enters the minds and dreams of various characters in the series, he reveals additional information and context. This allows us to better understand the characters and their past actions during the events we witnessed in the first 2 seasons. In this video, I'll explain in detail the information we know about the special power of Bill Cipher and the important revelations it provides about the main characters of the series. I'll also discuss the divorce of Dipper and Mabel's parents, how it affected them, and how the series portrays this. As we know from the animated series and Stanford Pine's records in Journal Number 3, Bill Cipher is a dream demon, and this is one of his most unique abilities. In his book, Bill explains that just as he can see across all realities, alternate universes, and timelines, he is also one of the few special entities capable of accessing the dimension or area of reality known as the mindscape. According to Bill, only he can enter this realm, and he uses it to explain why we're friends and to manipulate the reader into helping him escape. The mindscape, according to Bill, is where all consciousness goes after living beings fall asleep. Bill states that all minds are somehow connected, and every time we sleep, a portal opens directly from our mind to this dimension, Bill Cipher's playground. This connection grants him access to our subconscious, allowing him to see our dreams and nightmares. This special ability is what allowed Bill Cipher to enter Stanley Pine's mind when Gideon summoned him and struck a deal with the boy. Bill simply waited for Stan to fall asleep and then invaded his mind without restrictions. This same ability enabled Bill Cipher to appear in Stanford's dreams for the first time, communicating with him as a powerful entity claiming to seek the greater good. Bill presented himself as a muse and inspiration for Stanford, suggesting that every so often, he chooses a brilliant mind to inspire for the betterment of the world. This is how he convinced Stanford to work with him on what was supposed to be a groundbreaking project for humanity. However, Bill can also enter the minds of people who make a deal with him, granting him direct access to their consciousness. A particularly sinister aspect of Bill Cipher's abilities is that he can continue entering Stanford's dreams, even though Stanford installed a special metal plate with the help of Jessel Brown, as described in Journal Number 3. While the plate prevents Bill from directly influencing or harming Stanford, it highlights the terrifying strength of Bill's dream-related powers. Bill Cipher shows us glimpses of the dreams of various main characters in the series, connecting them to his zodiac symbol and revealing insights about their subconscious. For example, he mockingly refers to Stanford as pansexual, emphasizing his obsession with planning and absolute order. He also reveals that Mabel frequently dreams about saving a small pig, Waddles, reflecting her deep-seated fear of losing him. This fear stems from traumatic experiences, such as nearly losing Waddles when she first won him at the fair, or when the pterosaur took him, almost resulting in Waddles being devoured by its offspring in the caves of Gravity Falls. All of this left Mabel a bit traumatized, which is why she has those recurring nightmares and never wants to lose that friend and pet. She also has very fun dreams, according to Bill, which are wild but satisfying at the same time. It's also revealed that Wendy Corduroy constantly dreams about her late mother, showing how deeply her mother's death affected her and how much she misses her. Even though her mother passed away when Wendy was very young, she still remembers her fondly and loves her dearly. Despite this, Wendy keeps it all to herself and tries to appear tough. And yes, she is very brave. According to Bill Cipher, Sus Ramirez constantly dreams about 80s movies, video games, and cups of pudding that can eat him, which terrify him. Sus also dreams of one day officially changing his last name to Pines instead of Ramirez, because he admires his boss, Stanley Pines, and sees him as a father figure in his life. Robbie constantly dreams about his original hair color, as it wasn't black. He dyed it to look tougher and more like a rocker and metal musician. Gideon still dreams about the sailor suit he wore during the events of Weirdmageddon, which Bill Cipher forced him to wear and dance in. Interestingly, Gideon actually liked the suit and frequently dreams about wearing it again. Officers Blubbs and Durland only dream about each other. Blubbs dreams only of Durland, and Durland dreams only of Blubbs. Stanley Pines has recurring nightmares where he's back in high school, watching his brother Stanford trapped in a science fair experiment. This reflects Stanley's lingering regret about what happened in their youth, when he ruined and destroyed Stanford's experiment. That project was going to be amazing and would have earned Stanford a full scholarship to any school he wanted. It is interesting that after more than 40 years, Stanley is still dreaming about this, and we can assume this is because it was a very traumatic event for him. Ruining Ford's experiment was the catalyst for many unfortunate events. Firstly, it separated the two brothers and caused a rift between them for decades. It also led to their father kicking Stanley out of the house as punishment for what he did to his brother, which resulted in Stanley living a tough youth, moving from town to town, and eventually becoming a con artist. This also led Ford to attend a different university, where he met his partner Fiddleford McGucket, which would eventually lead them to investigate the oddities of Gravity Falls and trigger the events we see in the animated series. Pacifica Northwest has some quite sinister and somewhat terrifying dreams where she tries to wash bloodstains off her hands, which she can never clean no matter how hard she tries. She also has a nightmare where she is over 30 meters tall and accidentally crushes the town of Gravity Falls. These dreams reflect Pacifica's guilt over being a Northwest and realizing the dark and secret history surrounding her family and all her ancestors. She knows well and discovered through the events we see in the series and in the episode with the ghostly lumberjack that the Northwest family legacy is centered around selfish acts and many wrongdoings that her family committed, exploiting the townspeople and the less fortunate throughout history. Pacifica feels burdened by these generational sins and desperately seeks to one day cleanse this legacy and truly do good for the town and others. She genuinely wants to be better than her parents, grandparents, and ancestors because she doesn't want to end up like them, a complete monster who destroys everything, as other members of the Northwest family have done for generations. Also, according to Bill Cipher, the spirit of Archibald Corduroy, or the ghostly lumberjack, still communicates with Pacifica and appears in her dreams. Although she earned his respect and he lifted his curse, we can assume that the ghostly lumberjack still chooses to appear to watch over her and essentially guide her to stay on the right path. This is quite unexpected and somewhat eerie. On McGucket's computer, which can be seen on the site thisisnotawebsite.com, if we enter the Platinum passcode, more details about Pacifica Northwest's nightmare are revealed. When she had blood-stained hands that she couldn't clean, she eventually reached a cemetery where she began talking to the statue of her ancestor Nathaniel Northwest, who curiously tells her not to worry and that he can help her. He can solve everything by removing all the guilt she feels and truly cleansing all the generational sins if she makes a deal with him and shakes his hand in return. She only has to bring him the interdimensional rift he tells her about, which is merely a snow globe. It is revealed that this was actually Bill Cipher entering Pacifica's dreams to try to manipulate her into making a deal with him and becoming his pawn, showing in a disturbing way how desperate Bill was to fulfill his mission and unleash Weirdmageddon. We can also see that in this nightmare, Pacifica senses that something is very wrong and sinister about all of this, which is why, in the end, she decides to reject the deal. We are told that after all, she wakes up feeling a bit scared. However, she dials Dipper's number on her phone, and this, in a strange and unexpected way, makes her feel very calm. We can also see a hidden cryptogram in the background of the page which, when translated, reads, "Stay away from her, Cipher." She is under the protection of the lumberjack spirits, confirming that Archibald Corduroy continues to appear in her dreams, not to haunt her, but to protect her from the powerful dream demon that is Bill Cipher. According to Bill Cipher, Dipper Pines has recurring nightmares about overhearing an argument between his parents that he was not supposed to hear. Bill explicitly asks us, why do you think they were in such a rush to send the kids away for the summer? In the first episode of the animated series Gravity Falls, Dipper introduces himself to the audience and mentions that he and his sister Mabel were sent to Gravity Falls to stay with their great-uncle Stan because their parents wanted them to spend the summer outside instead of cooped up at home. Supposedly, they also wanted them to make new friends in Gravity Falls, breathe fresh air, touch grass, and connect with nature. Although this sounds logical, it isn't the main reason. According to Bill Cipher's book, the real reason the kids were sent to Gravity Falls for almost 3 months was because their parents were in the process of separating and getting a divorce. They needed time alone to come to an agreement and make all the necessary arrangements, such as determining who would have custody of the children, who would keep the house, how much child support would be paid, and all those kinds of things. It is implied in Bill's book that this is the case, and that it was better for the kids to be out of the house, away from any potentially intense adult arguments. This way, they would be safe and distracted with their uncle, shielded from the negative things they might overhear at home. This, in effect, provides us with more detail and better insight into the motivations and behavior of Dipper and Mabel Pines throughout the series. This is why Dipper became so obsessed with the mysteries of Gravity Falls, finding the author of Journal Number 3, and uncovering all the town's secrets. Similarly, it explains why Mabel was so fixated on getting a boyfriend throughout the series, going out with Norman, the 3 gnomes, Little Gideon, and the puppet boy. Dipper and Mabel do all of this because they're seeking distractions from what's truly happening at home. They don't want to focus on or remember their parents and their arguments. This constant fear that maybe when they return, everything will have changed and that the future is uncertain torments the Pines twins. They don't know if their family life will stay the same or if they'll have to move with one parent to a different city. That's why both act as they do, so focused on escapism and mental distractions, avoiding the thought of going back home. Toward the end of summer, before Weirdmageddon, this is also why Dipper seriously considers staying in Gravity Falls and becoming Stanford Pine's apprentice and disciple. It's not just because he could learn a lot from a genius like his uncle, but because he doesn't want to return to a broken home without both parents together. This also explains why Mabel acted so dramatically when she overheard that Dipper was considering staying behind and genuinely wanted to leave her alone. This saddened her deeply because it would mean her brother and strongest emotional support wouldn't be there for her when she returned to face their parents' divorce. This concept also explains why Mabel was so emotionally vulnerable and fell into Bill Cipher's trap to unleash Weirdmageddon when the demon possessed Blendin Blandin. In Bill's book, he reveals that he tried to make a deal with Mabel before Weirdmageddon, claiming that the girl has great style and could be a perfect pawn for him. However, when the demon entered Mabel's mind and dreams, he only encountered lots of colorful and chaotic things, along with 2 characters named Chris and Sailor. Her mind was also filled with wanted posters of Bill Cipher. For this reason, even though he tried, he couldn't manipulate her or convince her to make a deal with him. The only thing that happened was that Bill, disguised as someone friendly, spoke with Chris and Sailor and asked what made Mabel saddest. They informed him that it was the idea of summer ending and that she wished it would never end. We know this is because she doesn't want to face reality. This is why Bill possesses Blendin and tells Mabel he can give her more time, which is what she truly wants. Inside the bubble of illusion where Bill traps Mabel, the girl doesn't want to leave and prefers to stay there forever. In a world where nothing has changed, her parents are still together, and her brother is with her. She only decides to leave this place when Dipper promises her that he won't abandon her and that they will face the future together. Honestly, I think this storyline is quite interesting and adds a layer of complexity to the series and its characters, especially Dipper and Mabel. It also explains why Mabel always acted so carefree and silly, as well as why Dipper was so focused on mysteries. And so, this is everything we know about what Bill's book reveals regarding the dreams of various characters and the divorce of Dipper and Mabel Pine's parents. Personally, I think this is one of the most interesting and darkest topics introduced by Bill's book. It makes the protagonists and other characters of the series more relatable and endearing in some way. The truth is that the divorce subplot explains a lot of the behaviors we see in Dipper and Mabel throughout the series. I also liked how Bill Cipher showed us the dreams of other characters like Stanford, Stanley, Pacifica, Seuss, and Wendy. That chapter in the book is one of the most interesting because it provides more context and depth to Gravity Falls as an animated series. But let me know your opinion in the comments below. Did you already know about Bill Cipher's ability to enter dreams and interact with people? Were you familiar with all the dreams and nightmares of the various characters? Lastly, do you think Dipper and Mabel's parents will actually get divorced or not? And which dreams did you find the most interesting and why? Comment your answers to these questions and your overall thoughts on all the dreams and nightmares of the Gravity Falls characters and the divorce of Dipper and Mabel's parents below. As always, thank you so much for watching this video. I truly appreciate it. If you enjoyed it, give it a like and share it to support the channel, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of my new videos.